Okay, this is starting to slope down. I'm going to put a swing profile here. Things are all getting lined up here. Once again, we've got one of these scenarios with a very, very small stop. You can see the lines overlapped a little bit here. It's just the way that the volume weighted average price is coming in because of this big period here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to look at some of the volume over here. That's basically right where we are. Let's look at the risk to reward. Ugh, did that backwards. Entry and stop. I mean, God, look at this. It's like hard not to want to. It's so small. The risk is so small. If all we do is double bottom, can we get there? Sort of missed the entry here. We'll see if this holds. Maybe we can get into it again. Normally speaking, I wouldn't be interested in something that we haven't penetrated the volume on. This is obviously the middle of the range. This is where we held the last time, and you can see that that's, you know, that we've been sort of printing right at that. So is it going to hold this? And there we go. With the risk to reward that's required here is just so small. That's my interest in it. This is taken off.
Order pending.
Okay, hit there at 57, no fill. We're on it, just not filling.
Order filled.
Okay, there we go. So let's get our stop down. Excuse me. All right, what I like about this is the tiny risk to reward setup here. So let's get it mapped out. Yeah, it's a little lower than I wanted it to be. We can move it around. Let's get the other one set. And my hope is that this falls. Look at that. It's going to be really, really close. So we're going to bring this one in just a little bit, but we'll just get it. So right now it's right there. That would be 5-1 from the entry. Our stop's now down a little bit too. So let's go ahead and reduce that. Okay, so now we have a 4-tick stop on the trade. I'm okay with both of these. This honestly, this has got to work. It might be a little bit low here, but we're talking about such a small amount. This is the one that I'm concerned about. We've got our prior low transition comes in right there. Right, so let's just take that one in a couple of ticks so that we're not exactly on the, and we'll go to 51.25. So we're a little bit short of 5-1, but again, it's not about the math. It's about the logic. And logically, if we're going to trade down to the lows, This is going to be where we're going to bump up against. So let's get it in there at 51 quarters. Okay, starting to break down a little bit. We're almost to the first target. Just off by a tick here. Ugh. Stop gets improved now to 3 ticks. So very little risk on this. Back up at the CWAP again. This probably would have been a better entry here. I mean, I'm not going to complain. We got a tick the other way. But think about it. This little bit more evidence of actually breaking down, pulling back up into the prior level of support, which should, through the volume, become resistance. So I think you could probably take this at either spot and be happy. I might have jumped the gun a little bit. I was excited about how small the risk was. Okay,
Target filled.
There we go. At the target, hit the target, filled the target. Stop still in the same place. Now looking for the next target down. Finally feel like this actually broke, so I think I jumped a little bit. I probably got in a little too early. But the risk was justifiable. 4 ticks, I felt like it was justifiable. So we'll see if we can carry down. Going to bring this back over just a little bit so we keep that target referenced.
Target filled.
Okay, so we've hit the second one as well. Stop is now just a tick behind entry, so that jumps down, eliminates some risk. We can see the other target here, why we moved it in just a little bit. So technically it's not 5 to 1, but we're right in that same area. Here we go. Let's see if we can grab it. Hit. Nothing.
Target
hit. There we
filled.
go. All right. So a little bit less than 5 to 1, but excellent. And this is the key, is understanding where you think the market's trying to go. So I'm a little bit, my thought process here was this, that really where we came down and held was here. We penetrated that. We started printing some volume there. We came back through here, right? So to see some volume come in below that, and again here, I was willing to take the risk because the risk was so small. All right, here's an interesting thought. What if we come back up now? Right? What if we come back up to our CWAP? Could we take this trade again? So let's think about this. The CWAP and VWAP have got to produce a trade that falls somewhere inside of this low, right? Because this low is going to be our stress point. So let's get a decision point on there. All right, so we've got lows down here. So now let's grab our risk to reward. And if we were to enter here with a stop there, look at that. We could presumably get the trade covered without having to make a new low. Right? So in terms of risk, could we put on another trade? And look, the stop just reduced too. Could we put on another trade? Let's do it.
Order pending.
People are always asking me if you can take it on the second time or the third time or whatever it is. As long as your risk profile makes sense, I don't see any reason why not. Now, if you remember, we had a lesson where we didn't want to take a trade because the trade went to the other side of the range. So I don't want to confuse anybody by doing this, but the reason that this makes sense whereas the other one didn't is because the risk is so small that we can actually capture the 2-to-1 before we trade through the volume at the low. So in the other example where I wasn't willing to take a trade, the 2-to-1 would have been way down here. And in this case, our 2-to-1 is going to be nice and tight, right? So I'm not concerned about whether or not it's already hit a reasonable point. The other thing is, look where this entry is. The entry is right here at the breakdown. I mean, I love it. I don't think, that didn't work. I don't think we could do any better, right? The entry is exactly where we expect the resistance to come in. Stop is up above it. I think this is a smart trade.
Order filled.
Okay, so we're filled. Let's get the stop adjusted. And let's get our risk to reward up. Entry, stop, target. Look at that. Our first target falls inside the low. I love it. Target 2 is going to come in at 3-to-1. Just below. That one might be a little bit more difficult, won't it? So we may not get to the 3-to-1, but hopefully this will take off running. And then there's our 5-to-1 right there. All right, so second entry off of the same swing profile. Okay, this is starting to roll back over. I like that. I'm going to go in and clean up some of the stuff that's on this chart because this was all referenced from another trade. And we've made the low. I'm going to get this one off of here too because now we have a new low to work from. Okay, we're right on the edge of volume here. Having a little trouble penetrating down through it. This is where the bulk of trade is, so I understand. But I'm fairly confident in this. I think it was a good setup, and now we've got 4 ticks worth of risk on the trade, so really no complaints. There we go. It's hit.
Target filled.
And filled. Perfect. Okay, so 2-to-1. All the risk is off the table, right? Now, if we can make new lows, we're in business, and we've got 2 targets down below for that. So, can you take the same a second trade off of the same CWAP line? Absolutely, no question about it. Just has to make sense. And in this case, what justified that was that our initial target would be inside of the prior volume low. Okay, challenging the lows here, looking for this to make new lows. Our stop is not moving much, and that's because we have a tremendous amount of volume all across the same area, so the VWAP is just not improving substantially. So we really want to think about where we can move our stop to. Ideally, what I would like to see is for us to have a strong breakdown through the lows, and then we can use this transition as the trailing stop. So we'll just jump it forward quite a bit. So like all the way to 52, 50, 53, something like that. There's a little bit of an improvement. But the problem with where it is that it's the transition high. So it's in a good place. It's just we really don't want the market to come all the way back up there, right? So it would be much better if we could see a strong push through, and really get some progress with a new swing off of this, and then we can make some adjustments.
Target filled.
All right, so target's filled. So we can either bring the stop down to here. We're penetrating with volume. We can use this transition as our trailing stop. I think that probably makes more sense than, another thing that you can do is just start a new swing. Let's just check and see where that would fall. If we come off of this high, look, that's pretty much putting us in the same place, right? We were talking about getting right here. This is like a brand new swing that we would want to execute off of. So why don't we just bring our stop right there? And that way, no matter what happens here, we're not giving up a ton on the last trade here. This was sort of a freebie as a double opportunity. Okay, see if that can drive down the other way. Let's get this adjusted. We're at 53 now. Very, very close. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, starting to press back down. Well, we were starting to press back down. And so just to kind of restate what happened here, we'd entered this here off of a larger swing profile, but the volume weighted average price wasn't moving because of all of this sideways volume. It was very stagnant up here. And so to make the most out of this trade, making a new low without driving through it, we just jumped our stop up by making a new swing profile off of the high here, because effectively what it did was break down and create a breakdown here. And when it lifted back up, where did we hold? The same volume that was struggling before. So that's another tool that you can use to make an adjustment on your stop. You just want to make sure that you're following a logical swing.
Stop filled.
Well, there we go. If had we done this and not made a new low, it would have been very foolish to move the stop like that. But given that we created a new breakdown, I think it makes good sense. So with that, it's just another opportunity. 2 trades off of the same swing, managing the stop of the second one by creating a new swing. So some new tools for you to use, and hopefully this was a helpful lesson.